Hello. I want to talk about digital manufacturing, the maker movement, the platforms that enable it all, and most importantly, the resurgence of decentralized fabrication as a thing. And this video is going to be made in two parts. One part is going to be just me yapping, me blabbing about things that I think are important to talk about and discuss. And the second part is going to be me actually showing you one of the platforms that I feel shows how the future is going to look like, or at least part of the future is going to look like. So if you're only interested about the platform, skip ahead. If you want to hear me yap, listen to me yap. So I'll begin with the medieval times. We begin with the medieval times, or even before that, right? All of the manufacturing, or a lot of manufacturing, was done in a decentralized fashion, right? So you would have the smith, you would have the lumber, and so on. You would have like different places that produce handmade goods, and then people can buy the handmade goods. And usually those places would serve only the local community, but of course things changed over time with the longer and longer trade routes being established, and at this day and age, global shipping is a thing. But hold that thought, because the things that I'm going to say actually might not need global shipping, or the way of how I see the production happening, that might not need global shipping anymore. So now we skip ahead to 2000s, early 2000s, and we look at the emergence of the manufacturing movement, or how is it called? The maker movement. Basically, with the beginning of the RepRap project, as well as the laser cutters and CNC machines actually being able to be placed inside of your garages, for us mere mortals to being able to buy them, suddenly the maker movement has begun. I'm not even talking about the Arduino processors and being able to code your own little chips. But with that, there was a vacuum of, we are able to produce all of these things, but how do we sell them, right? Because before it was, you sell it to your local community. But these days, the local community actually looks outwards, like they look elsewhere to buy, so it's much harder to actually reach out only to local communities. How do you reach the global audience? And this is where in 2005, Etsy has taken over the vacuum and provided a platform for actually selling your products that you produce in your garage, right? So for those of you who don't know what Etsy is, but anyway, it's a platform that in which you can sell stuff, right? Stuff that you produce, stuff that you draw, stuff that you cut, make, design, whatever, right? So it's super decentralized, and you are your own factory, basically. And for years, Etsy has been a place where creators sell their handmade and unique products, and it helped small makers turn their crafts into actual real businesses. But it also came with a lot of cost, a lot of work. Making every item by hand is really, tedious. By making, I mean customizing every item by hand is quite tedious. Managing orders is quite hard, and dealing with shipping is also, it requires a lot of effort, right? So all of this put a lot of strain on the designers. And I'll focus only, in this case, I'll focus only on the customization, making items or customizing items by hand, right? Now let's turn back a little bit and understand that at the same time, a new way of making things has been growing, right? All of those laser cutters, those CNC mills, those 3D printers that people have started buying for their homes, those created a wave of digital manufacturing, right? And these tools, they enable mass customization, right? It's the same thing for a 3D printer to print a unique part or 20 unique parts, or 20 parts that look all the same, right? So it was only an issue about how do you alleviate the stress or the strain from the designer in making those customizations, right? So that is where Etsy has fallen short, I guess, and where new platforms needed to emerge. And these new platforms, such as Beegraphy, that's the platform that I'm going to be showing you in the second part of the video, have been combining these manufacturing techniques with online selling and trying to be that in-between member that enables mass customization. So instead of you uploading one product at a time, you know, a ring or whatever that you design, creators could create this kind of a smart designs, I guess, or scripts, right? That the buyer can then change on the website. You know, the variables are predetermined. The buyer can change them. And they can, once they're happy with how the design looks like, they just order that variation of the design, and all of the cut patterns or the 3D print files or whatever are then sent to the seller. Or alternatively, this is where decentralized fabrication comes in and where global shipping actually starts buckling. What if they don't send it to the seller to produce, but rather they send it over to a local makerspace, to a local manufacturing facility, right? That is also owned by a guy or girl, you know, a person in their garage, but it's much closer to them. And because of that, the shipping is not a headache. And also the local, basically the time that it takes to deliver is not an issue. So this decentralized fabrication paired with the internet, you know, and a network of makers in the fab labs and maker spaces and so on, enables something big to happen. At least that's how I see it. And these platforms, such as Beegraphy, they are at the forefront of it, and they offer a solution of how that, or a glimpse at how that could actually happen. And this is, I feel like it's important to talk about. So this is, in my opinion, the next step after Etsy. Is it going to be the only step? No, I don't think it is going to be the only step, because you still need to produce scripts, right? You need to produce design in the form of a parametric model, a parametric script, and not all designs need that. Not all designs require that. Think, I don't know, caricature drawings. A client sends over a photo of them and you draw a caricature, you know, from the photo, and then you send back the caricature. That does not need a parametric model. So there are going to be different platforms, but I feel like it's going to be much more customized in the future. So with that being said, I guess we can jump to the second part of my speech, right, of the video, and I'll just introduce you to the platform and how it works. So, since Beegraphy has recently had a major update, in this video I will, or in this part of the video, I will be showing you, we'll be looking into the platform, and I'll be showing you how it works and see how close we are to the promised future of a fully customizable, decentralized design and manufacturing ecosystem. So the first thing that you will notice is the little beta version here, the little sign that says beta, that the platform is still under construction. It's still very early stages, but at this stage you already can jump in as a designer and start learning the ropes of, you know, this kind of parametric marketplace. So I think the main two things to actually talk about are the editor and the market, right? These two. And I will begin with the market. I think that's more important, and I'll showcase that. So if I go in here, the market, open up that, I can see a bunch of different objects that I can skim through, and I can just choose whichever I feel like is nice enough. For example, this one, Aurora Curve Pendant Light, and it's free. It's free to download, right? So I will click on that, wait for it to load in. And it's all based on browser, right? So it's not going to be the fastest, but it produces a model. And you can see that here I can change the different variables. This is me being a client, right? This is me searching for a design that I want for a lamp and just going, no, I want the count of the blades to be actually less. Let's go for 35. Wait for it to update, so it's 35 now. And I want the thickness to be actually 5 millimeters rather than 4. Wait for that to update, and it breaks. Okay, there we go. As it's updating, it sometimes breaks, but eventually it finds the calculation, like the correct output. Doesn't find it, it gets to the correct output. And so on. I can change the height, the diameter, blah, blah, blah. Once that is done, here in the bottom, I have my download button that I can just click on, and in this case, and choose it to be exported as a DXF file. And since it's a DXF file, it can be sent to a laser cutter to be produced. And in this case, this is a free model, so anyone can download it. And if you have your own laser cutter, or if you know someone with a laser cutter, you can just send it over to them and they will produce it, right? For either for free, or it's up to you to talk with them about how much it's going to cost. In the future, this you will be able to also put a price on it. I think already you are able to put a price on it, but there's still some limitations with the actual logistics of where the model manufacturing is being sent to. I'll talk about that in just a second. So that's how it works, right? And under the market, you can see there's a bunch of these different elements. And if I just let's go to one of the older pages. There's still no filtering system or anything like that for the models. At least I don't, oh, never mind, there is. My bad. There is a filtering system. And if I just go for jewelry, there we go. I can just find whatever jewelry I want, and I can make adjustments to it, and in this case download an STL file. Okay, so that's the marketplace. That's the idea. The future of it is going to have shipping, and is going to connect you with the local manufacturers or manufacturers that are close to your address, and so on. Right now it's still quite early. Let's see how it works under the hood. You as a designer, what do you do? So if I go to the editor, I have one design right here, and it's a sound panel. You can actually hear that the acoustics in my office are not great, so I just decided to design a quick little sound panel. And I'll guide you through the whole process here, but this is how it looks like, right? That's the script, that's the logic, and that's the output, right? So if I look at it here, these are all of the different parts, right? These are all of the different parts that are ready to be laser cut for the panels. And there are a few things that I can change. Before I do that, before I show you how the product would look like, I'll just guide you through the script really quickly. I'll probably just place the script in the video description below, the link to the script, so that anyone who, I think you need to have a login for this platform to be able to see the script, but if you have a login, you'll be able to just kind of dig through this mess that I made. But basically, all I do is I create a rectangle, which I divide up, and actually let's do a stupid thing, and let's hide everything. And now I won't be able to know what's where, but that's fine. So I make a rectangle, I offset it in words, I create a surface from the offsetted rectangle. I divide the surface into a grid of points, and I deconstructed these points into their x and y axes. And the reason why I do that is because as the points are moving further away in the x or the y axis, I run it through, where is it? Cosinus wave function, right? So I basically remap the numbers that I have here, this range of numbers, to be a cosinus. And you know the wavy line, we do the wavy line. And I add up these cosinus waves in both x and y direction into one number, and I use that number to produce a z vector, upwards vector, with which I move the points up. And I get a little hill thing. Then some shenanigans right here where I draw a line that I can't see. What the hell? Oh, my bad. The line is pretty small. It's right there in the top. Hope you can see it. I draw a little line. I move it to be in the center, in the middle of the point. That's going to be the tip of the triangles, the fins, right? And at the same time, I draw a line at the bottom, also move it to the center, and I loft between them, right? So I have this little pyramid. Once that is done, I guess I could talk about this. No, let me just explain it right here. I also make little rectangles so that I can place them inside of a plate, right? And the problem is that I have one region here, right? And two parts. I actually want this to be one shape, right? One outline. So what I do is I use region union to union them together into one. Let's hide a bunch of stuff that is in the way. Right. There we go. So I have my region union here for every one of these. So I have my elements. Great. Those are ready to be laser cut. Well, not really. They need to be placed flat on the ground, right, to be laser cuttable. So I'll end with this part here, just showing the elements in their correct place, right? It's basically just extruding the surface, like thickening up the surfaces, and I believe capping them. No, it caps automatically, never mind. Okay, so that is one part. Second part is me taking a bunch of rectangles that you can see right here. Actually, I kind of need to hide this. Apologies. Hide that. Hide all of those. As I said, browser-based stuff is not that fast, but it's chugging. It's chugging along. So here, for every point on which the little triangles were sitting, I also make a little hole here, and I make sure that it rotates, that the hole is rotating exactly the same amount as the little triangles were, or the elements were. And notice this rectangle here rotating, and bam, it aligns with how the triangles are rotating. Okay. With that done, also some extruding shenanigans, and at the end I have my Swiss cheese, or not even Swiss cheese plate. Okay, let me hide unnecessary stuff. There we go. Okay, so that's two. I have my base element and I have all of my elements right here. Then what I do is I take the curves and I get their planes, curves of the outlines of the triangles. I get their planes and I orient them to the world XY plane. And if I hide, render here, and I hide this with here, you can see this is basically all of the elements just placed on top of each other on the world XY grid, right? And then where am I? Hello, I'm lost. Oh yeah. And then I just use a nesting tool. Nesting tool that actually is available as a plugin to the Beegraphy's general editor, which is amazing. So now you are able to actually produce plugins for the editor itself. In my opinion, these kind of platforms live and die by the community and the plugins that the community are able to produce, right? So that's the nesting tool. After nesting is complete, it's a very basic nesting tool, but it's hey, it does the job, right? It's a bounding box based nesting, whatever. I also produce numbers for every element, and those numbers are then placed into a different layer. So the cut layer is red, the engrave layer is blue, and the outer layer, the perimeter here, is yellow. And all of that feeds into DXF exporter. The DXF exporter, I'll talk about that later, but this is basically you determining what can the client get from your model, right? What can come out from your model, and that's the DXF file, the laser cut file. Okay, let's hide that. And I believe that's kind of it. The last bit was for every element, I also place numbers above every element just so that we can see which element is where, right? So that's element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so that it's easier for us to assemble them. All right. So now if I want to look how this whole thing, this whole script would look like for a user, a client, right? A person who wants to purchase this design, I can just go to this, I believe it's under demo, because configurator, first let's talk about configurator. In the configurator, I enable or disable inputs that I want the client to have access to, right? So here, it's still loading. No, it's not. So here are all of the different inputs that the client has access to, and I can choose to either enable or disable some of them. In this case, all of them are already set up. I don't want to mess with that. There's also an output list, which is one DXF exporter, right? So we have that. Oh, I also forgot. Oh, actually, no, I'll mention that a little bit later. So then what the client sees is this demo thing. Let's wait for it. And you can notice that whatever you have enabled as a preview in your script also shows here for the client. So this is maybe not the best. I actually need to go back in here and enable the render preview of the bottom and disable apologies, a bit laggy. Oh, did I? Oh. I accidentally enabled all of the whole damn preview. Okay, good. A bit more. Okay. Whew. And then we don't need to really see that. Texts currently in this current state are really heavy. So we don't want to preview those. Okay, back in here, if I refresh the web page, you'll see that a cleaner version of the geometry is being shown. And if I were to click on the download right here, you can see that the DXF exporter is right here, right? So that is the node that I was talking about, right? Where is it? Right here. That's the only output that the client can get. And if I click done, then the file gets downloaded. I'll show you the file in just a second, but right now, give me a second. I will need to figure out why the inputs are not showing up. Also, I actually need to hide my camera and show you again. Download button was here, DXF exporter. I clicked done, right? Okay, let me investigate. I figured it out. So the problem was, let's make me smaller. The problem was that if you hide your sliders, your number adjustments, if you hide them inside of your script, then they will be hidden in the variables panel right here, which is strange, but hey, it behaves this way, so we follow the rules. Either way, we have ourselves a bunch of things that we can change. And for example, if I just simply, for the element count, if I go for 3 elements, give it a second. Because of the nesting logic, because of the, or 3 divisions, not elements. Because of the nesting logic, it actually is a pretty heavy script, but seems to be working quite well. So I have that. If I want to have more elements, I can. Let's go for 8. I don't want to do like 12 elements. It's going to take too long. And so on, right? So now let's give it some time for it to actually catch up. And you can actually see the step-by-step script being ran, right? And how it calculates, and eventually it's going to converge on the final design. There we go. So that's our 8x8 little sound panel, sound deafening panel, right? Now, here in the bottom left, bottom right, there's a bunch of settings, a bunch of menus, right? Or icons. And the one that I want to talk about just a tiny bit is this icon right here, the calculation panel. This is soon to come. Soon to come in a way that you will be able to assign a material and material cost to this model, and the calculation panel will actually give you the rundown of how much it's going to cost and so on. So the marketplace will automatically update the cost according to the type of a design that you make or that your client wants. I think that's the last thing, or one of the last things. The last thing would be to actually bridge the gap between the, this download button and the file actually being sent to makerspace nearby the location of the client for them to produce, to package, and to ship the model to the client. All right. So now, since the calculation panel is not running, I will show you a workaround, a quick workaround for it. And the workaround is right here. Where is it? There it is. Display table. This bad boy right here. If I were to actually enable the preview of it and refresh here, give it a second. There we go. And I believe if it runs, once it calculates, yep, there we go. That's the total area, how many sheets are required, and material price per square meter, right? Oops. What's the cost for it? And all of it is running through here, through these this logic of you just building up the the table. Right now it's a workaround, but in the future you will not be needing to do this kind of stuff because it's all going to be in the cost panel instead, right? There are plenty of tutorials by Beegraphy themselves of how to use this. All right, so finally, we're at the stage where I actually can make the thing that I talk about making. We always make things in this on this YouTube channel. So now I'm going to play around with the settings for this. I'll try to find a nice little and now we're going to play around with the settings for this. I'm going to try and find like a nice amount of elements that are still producible and the correct thicknesses and so on. And once that is done, I'm going to show you the final design in a nice way. I'll get my nice camera for it. Before we do that, actually let me show you the export that we had from here. So 1 second. There we go. So I'll just show it to you in Rhino. I have it on my second screen, second monitor. If I just drag and drop it in, I'll just open the file. Yeah, hit OK. You will see this. This is something that a manufacturer, like a person with a laser cutter in their basement, would receive with a side note of the address to which they should ship, right? So, and then also, I guess, the assembly instructions. So this is the base plate, and these are all of the different elements. Honestly, since this is a bounding box based thing, I will most likely manually just arrange them a little bit so that they fit in like 3 sheets rather than 4. But besides that, you know, this is production ready. All of the layers are correct and so on, ready to go. I'm quite surprised how seamless this is at this stage of development, and I'm curious to see where it goes next. So now, I guess I'll leave you with this. The manufacturing, the customization of manufacturing is close. It's already here, honestly. It's already here. It's just a matter of convenience and matter of connecting people. Finding platforms that connect people together, connect clients with manufacturers, clients with designers, designers with manufacturers, and so on. An in-between platform. And I do believe that Beegraphy is definitely one of them. They are not the only one. They're not the only one, but they are the one that is pushing quite aggressively. And I like that. I like that quite a bit. So now, while you look at me actually producing this sound panel, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel and also subscribing to Beegraphy and seeing maybe you want to design in their platform in the long run, so to say. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Later.